Alright, the first part of the homework is installing Photoshop. You can go ahead and go to the Adobe trial here, and if you need installation instructions, you can follow them here. Just remember to only install Photoshop because the trial does expire in 30 days. Okay, so only install Photoshop. And the second part of your homework is you need to pick one of your written visual rendition ideas from last week's homework to execute digitally. You should have received feedback on which direction to go in already, or it may have been left up to you. And of course, you should also have pictures that you've taken to be able to execute this digital draft that is now being assigned for homework. Okay? So you might be wondering, how do I get started? How do I move forward with this? So a couple of things. I've given you guys some resources here to take a look at, and these are just different tutorials for executing some movie posters and typography and things like that. And then the other thing that I suggest is that you go online and research a bit more on what the posters in your genre of movies look like and choose some inspiration posters for your visual reference like I have here. Example, this is my professional visual inspiration poster for my movie's genre. Now what you're going to want to do is download the template. You're going to have to go into the course website. And now I have access to the movie poster template, so I'm going to want to go ahead and download it. Now don't just click on it. If you go in here and just click on it, it's going to open it up and it's going to try to render the file inside the browser. We don't want that, so we're going to go ahead and close that. What you want to do is you want to instead right click it, okay, or control click on a Mac, and then you're going to want to go to download linked file as, or whatever option your computer has for downloading files. Might be save image as or something to that effect. So you're going to go download linked file as, and I'm just going to go ahead and save it to the desktop here. So that's downloading to the desktop now. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to the program to open up Photoshop. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a file, open. I'm going to browse for that template file, and then I'm going to hit open. And it should pop up such as you see here. You'll notice that there are two different layers. One is the credits and one is the background layer. Okay. And then what you're going to want to do is just start by opening up images and dragging and dropping them into your document. So you're just going to pick the image that you want to use and then hit open. Then using your move tool, you're going to want to select, hold down, and drag into that other document, pull it down towards the canvas, release it, and then you're going to want to rescale it and position it, okay? But before doing that, what you're going to want to do is convert it to a smart object so that until you figure out what size you want, you know you have that flexibility to change it back and forth without losing quality. You're going to go into Edit, Free Transform, hold down Shift to constrain your proportions as you drag, hold down. When you're done and you want to implement the changes exactly how you think you want it, you can go ahead and hit Enter or Return, and that'll make it permanent, okay? Now if you decide that you want to change it again, you can do another free transform. You can either make it bigger or smaller. It's really up to you. Because you do have it set as a smart object, you won't lose any quality at this point as you're scaling, you know, up and down. I just did a Command T. That's a shortcut for transforming, okay? Now as I mentioned here, you'll see that little smart object icon. Now you could leave it as a smart object, you know, and run smart filters on there and also do image masks and whatnot. But at some point you might run into some issues where certain things won't apply to the smart object, and in that case what you need to do is convert it into a raster object. So once you've finished applying all the effects and making sure the size is the way you want it as a smart object, then what you want to do is turn it into a raster object by right click on it, rasterize layer, okay? Alright, so you would continue that process. You'd continue opening images and dragging them and dropping them in here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close out of all these. I already have another document set up that has all the images in place so that we don't waste any time here, okay? Take a look at some of these images, the ones that I'm going to be using for this poster. The idea is that these are the images that I would have photographed, okay? Or in your case, the ones you would have photographed. Just so you get a sense of, you know, how you would plan the imagery. There's some texture, some clouds for background. Now you'll notice I'm not working with smart objects because I already know the size that I'm going to be using the mat. I've already selected them, so I turned them back into raster, but it's up to you. You can continue working in smart object mode just in case you decide to scale up or down. But for me, I've already scaled them. I've already done that experimentation, so I'm good where I'm at. Okay, let's take a look at that inspiration imagery again, just so we get a sense. There's some people, there's some clouds, there's a background. All right, I'm going to close those off. I'm going back into the document here. And the first place you want to start is usually with the background, determining what your background is. So here I have this clouds, and I notice it's not long enough. I don't just want to go and rescale it. I probably want to make a duplicate. I'm holding down my Alt key to make a duplicate, just like we could in other programs. And I'm going to drag and drop it. Now you'll notice there's that little edge right here. We want to get rid of that. So that's where your masking comes in. I'm going to go ahead and click Add Layer Mask. And now I'm going to go back into my gradient. Okay, I'm going to do a gradient mask, and I'm going to make sure that I'm set to black to white here. And I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to make sure that it's black to white, not black to transparent. That'll allow me to kind of scrape and remove some information. And if I want to try a different angle, then because it's set to black to white, it'll allow one to replace the other, as we mentioned when we did the lesson on gradient mask. Okay, so notice one's replacing the other. You're not just adding to it. Okay, I'm going to get it kind of the way that I think that I want it. Okay, and that looks kind of good. The next thing is you've established your background, you want to move in and start using your characters here. So we have the girl here. Again, she's going to need a mask because I don't like that white background on her. I don't want to go in and cut her out. I just want to kind of do a quick gradient mask on her, just test things out. All right, I'm going to go in there and swipe across. Notice that I was on that black and white background. Okay, I'm just swiping across. Notice that I started off with black and white. Now I'm moving to black to transparent so that I can keep adding to it. I don't like that. I'm going to undo that. You'll start noticing me using my hand commands, Command Z to undo. If it's too much, Command Z, undo. Too much, undo. Okay. Or with my gradient tool, I can also add things as long as I reverse the colors, okay? See, I can take away, or if I had put the white in the foreground, I could remove and still swipe. Okay, so now I'm going to go in there and finesse things in with the brush a little bit, make sure that I'm on my brush with my black set as a foreground color, and then I'm just going to go ahead and paint away. Notice that I can change my opacity. If I want to paint in or delete more gradually, I just lower the opacity. That'll allow me to do that. Okay, I can change to white, and again I can paint back in a little gradually. You just do that until you kind of get the look that you want. And it might be a little bit of playing around. Notice I'm going back in and forth, changing my brush size, using my right bracket or left bracket to make it smaller or bigger. I'm just kind of painting that out. It's actually masking that out. Okay. All right. So once I think I got it how I want it, I can go into the next layer, add a mask, go to my gradient, make sure that I'm selected black to white so that I can just test swipe at first. Okay. Once I think I got the basics, I can change from black to transparent, and I can keep adding to the gradient mask, okay? And if you do too much, you can always undo. I'm just using my hand commands, Control Z or Command Z. Okay, and you can always add with the brush to the selection. Once you get the basics done with the gradient, you can add with the brush. Okay, and I'm just continuing to add on the mask for that particular layer. Okay, I just switched around to my white. I'm brushing things in now, switch it around, taking things out. So remember, black deletes, white reveals, okay? And none of it is permanent. Okay, now I have this guy here. All right, he is not black and white, as you can tell. So to resolve that, what you'd want to do is add an adjustment layer. Here's where our adjustment layers come into play. And I'm just gonna add a black and white adjustment layer. Okay, notice it turned everything black and white, including my background, which I don't want. So if you want that just to apply to one, you want to hold down your Alt key, and when you see that icon, you want to hit click, and notice that now it only applies to that guy here. Okay, all right. I'm going to go ahead and add a mask to the guy layer now so that I can clean him up just like I did the others. Okay, and now I'm swiping. I'm using gradient to transparent, so I'm just kind of adding to it constantly. Okay, notice I'm set there, not on the first one, so it allows me to keep adding to the mask. Okay, so we're going to keep working with that. Okay, now I'm looking at this and I start noticing, like, look at her face. She's so serious and she's so serious, and then this guy's all happy. Like, he's got 2 girls and he's just super happy. Just doesn't thematically seem to work. Okay, so when that happens, I think, hey, let me try somebody else. This guy isn't going to work for me. All right, so let's try somebody else, and that's why taking a lot of pictures is important. Okay, so now this guy, we have him. He's kind of at an angle. That's a little bit awkward here. So what we can do is we can straighten him out. We're going to go and grab our move tool. I'm going to select him, go to edit, free transform. I'm just going to go ahead and rotate him a little bit here so that he's kind of stuck between the middle of these 2 girls. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my layer mask. Okay, and then similarly, I'm going to go and I'm going to grab my gradient and then make sure that it's selected from black to white, so that when I swipe I can replace if I mess up. Okay, notice one is replacing the other. I'm just trying to find that perfect one to get started with, and then I can keep adding to it. Okay, so I'm going to leave that as my basics, and then I'm going to go and with my brush tool I'm going to clean up some areas that aren't quite working for me, like right in here. Okay, some in here. These are the ones I want to do manually. Notice I'm undoing and redoing as I need to. And I'm going to go back to my gradient tool. I'm going to make sure that I switch it to black to transparent so that I can keep adding to it. Keep what's already there and then keep adding to it. As you mess up, you can either undo or switch around your colors to reveal and hide things you don't want. Okay? I'm just going to get this perfect, or as close to perfect as I can. I'm going to switch it with black is in the front. I'm going to go in here and then manually remove some stuff. Notice sometimes you want to fade things out. Sometimes it's too much. You can lower your opacity so that you don't erase as much at a time. Okay. Alright, make my brush bigger, paint some of this in. Basically, it's just playing around until you get it how you want and also how it looks good. Okay. Always make sure that as you're doing this that you make sure that you're on the mask and not on the layer, because if you paint on the layer, again, you will paint on the layer and replace your image. Okay. So once you think you got it how you want it, you know, it's pretty good. The guy looks pretty good. Let's look at the inspiration imagery. You can turn on the background. Now you'll notice that there's kind of a gradation between the background and the top image and the bottom image in the inspiration image. So we're going to try to do that here. So I just added a layer mask. I'm blending this down here. Okay. And just keep undoing until I get it right. Okay, I think that's pretty good there. And I think the next thing would be to go and manipulate our credits down here. So I'm going to go to the credits layer. That's the one that was in your original template. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. You'll notice that there's 2 sets of credits, the black credits and the white credits. Okay, so I turned off the black credits. I turned on the white credits. If I open that up, I can go in here and manipulate this. Notice there's that black box in the background. If I want to change the color of that, I'm going to change it to a gray. I double clicked on it to get my color effects, and I did a color overlay. I'm going to go ahead and select black, hit OK, and hit OK again, and I just basically added a layer effect. That's where your layer effects can come into play, of a color overlay to change the color of that box. And now I'm going to go ahead and edit, free transform it, and make it larger. I'm holding down and dragging to the edge. Okay, and then when I'm done and I want to apply it, I hit return or enter. Okay, so that's how you get that to change there. Notice that there's this nice margin around here. Don't put your credits far down. If you're going to probably just leave them where they're at in the original template, okay? All right. Now you'll start noticing it starts coming together fairly nicely. We might notice that we don't like some of the colors. There's a color down here and one up here that are kind of conflicting, even though they kind of match. They're a little bit apparent where it's different. So you can go in and make adjustments that are on the hue or saturation, or you can colorize them. I'm going to go ahead and drag this up towards the top, okay, just so it applies to everything beneath it, okay. And now as I make adjustments, it'll apply to everything that's beneath it. Notice I'm changing the hue here. All right, this might not give me what I want. It's still very divided. You can also change the saturation where it kind of makes that less subtle, the differences. That kind of looks cool. Okay, it's not as apparent, kind of faded back. Or you can click colorize where it affects the entire thing there, okay? Notice we're in our properties menu here, okay? If you're looking for any of these palettes, make sure you go into Window and pull up your Properties palette, your Layers palette, and your Colors palette, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and turn on the title because we have this space. If you notice it's missing here, you notice a little small the bigger love, and the triangle. I didn't go here and here and I made this ahead of time just to save you the trouble. Basically, you'd want to take a look at titles and see how they stylize things and then try to apply it. Now I'm turning off the hue saturation layer here, just the adjustment layer here, just so that you can see. I'm going to go in here and further tweak it. Just know that you can experiment with these. That's kind of cool too. And just tweak the colors a bit until we get kind of what we're looking for. Okay. Notice if you up the saturation, what you get. If you lower the saturation, what you get. Okay, and just play around with that. I'm going to go ahead and click colorize. Notice that kind of grayscale is kind of cool, that duotone effect. As you turn it off, you start looking at the differences between the two. Alright, once you think you kind of got what you want, sometimes you want a little bit of texture. It's kind of raw state. You can start using these things that are layer modes, and I'm going to use that texture layer. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that one on and select it. Okay, and notice it's already been placed in a location where it seems to help the composition. It's not on top of the character, so it doesn't mess up their face. Going to add a layer mode. I'm going to try like overlaying. Just notice the effect that you get in the background with that one. Okay, got a little bit lighter. I'm going to try multiply, a little bit darker. Okay, notice you see a little bit of that texture. And I'm going to try color burn, linear burn. Okay, and now you see, I'm just going to go ahead and lower the opacity here so you can see how you can also manipulate that. Okay, and I'm just going to put it where it seems to visually make sense for me. Notice we got that little area here that now shows up after I've applied this layer mask and down there, so we can go ahead and clean those up. What I would need to do is make sure that I go to that layer, go into the mask. Okay, that's a layer. Go into the mask, select that, grab my brush, lower my opacity or make sure I got it set to what I want, change my brush size, make sure I'm on black so that I can remove all that extra gunk, and then start painting on that layer mask. Okay, to get rid of that little edge. If I need to add, sometimes I'll need to take off and then add just to get it the way I kind of want it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and switch to black to remove a little bit more towards that bottom with that arm. Okay. Right. Similar, I can go into her layer. I just switch to my move tool. Now I'm going to her layer. Okay, I'm going to make sure I'm on the mask. Select the brush tool, make sure that I'm on white so I can paint some of that back in, and then on black to delete some of that edge that came back right there. Okay. Now if I did want to, and I noticed I didn't like the way the guy was facing, I could go and select him and I can do an edit, transform, flip horizontal, and that'll switch him over. I'm going to move him over here just so you can see. You could test things out, like the direction that they're facing to reflect them or whatnot. Okay, I don't really like the way that is, so I'm going to go ahead and switch it back. I just wanted to show you that you could do that with the characters as well. So I'm going back here. Okay. Now I'm just going to go back in here and tweak the colors a little bit more just to try different things now that I have that new texture. Okay, notice I'm just grabbing that hue saturation layer again, and I'm now making it opaque, lowering the opacity. So it does hold some of the color that's beneath it and some of the new color that adjustment layer has, but notice when it's full opacity, it's one strength and then it goes lower, so it kind of merges the two. You can just play around with those until you get what you want. And then don't forget to add the rest of your required content. So we already have the credits, the title, and the tagline. And now we need the changing of the website URL here, and then the release date, and then the star actor names. Okay, so here you have it, a poster. It took about 20 minutes here to do it with the instruction. Sometimes taking the photographs is what takes the longest once you get the hang of the software, okay? So that's pretty much it. When you have this done, you want to go in there and do a file save. Save it to your desktop, save it to your flash drive so you have a backup. Make sure that your format is Photoshop PSD and that you have it named as you want. And then go ahead and hit save so that you can submit it. And now we're going to go back to the website so you can see how to do that. If you look here, we have send your layered Photoshop file using UH file drop. Note that they're very large, so they can take up to 2 to 3 hours, maybe even 4, to upload. So don't start uploading last minute. Then copy and paste that upload confirmation link you get confirming that your assignment has been uploaded through UH file drop, and paste that into your assignment. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click here and show you how to do that. And you're going to go ahead and log in. And just like last week, you're going to put in your recipient info. Mine is I led, no@hawaii.edu. And then you can add a comment if you want here. Hit proceed. And just like last week, you're going to go ahead and choose the file. Go ahead and find your Photoshop file. Select it. And then hit start upload. And you'll notice that it will take a long time, so you can expect up to 2 to 3, maybe even 4 hours. So just make sure that as you upload these files to start uploading early on in the day. Don't wait until it's almost midnight during your grace period to upload these files. They do take a very long time. Okay, once this is done uploading, it will appear with a confirmation link, or it'll also send you an email. The email would look something like this. You just go ahead and select that. You'd edit, copy it, and then what you're going to do is go and submit it into your homework. So you'd go to the appropriate assignment, go down into the text box, edit, paste it, and now if you have any other questions, you could also enter them here. And then go ahead and hit submit. And then it'll give you a confirmation that your work has been submitted for that assignment. Okay? All right, this concludes your lesson on homework. If you have any questions, please be sure to contact me.